Part three, I'll just add to my testimony again and say that it's not easy to try to remember all the details. God is helping bring back my memory lately so that I can remember and be able to finally share now and be more thorough and more detailed. Um, so in part two, I talked about my high school years. So I want to just continue a little more on high school and that I willingly did admit myself in into a mental hospital in my high school years, saying I was suicidal. The depression was that bad. I would get these thoughts of wanting to run to the railroad tracks and sit on them, or look down a flight of stairs and say, I wish I could fall down and just die. Satan would plant these horrible, deadly thoughts into my mind. And so years later, I was able to minister to the youth online and help save people's lives. And I had a ministry, have a ministry to help people talk them out of taking their life. And I've been able to minister to them, give them hope, tell them the love of God, and witness to them in that pain that I understand the youth and what you go through in your teenage years when you're growing up, and how painful it is, and so I can relate, and I've been able to empathize and reach out to them. Yes, high school was extremely painful because everybody dates and goes steady. And that's when girls, start to wear the makeup and dress up, and you want a boyfriend. And I was the girl that was always alone and looked at like the Christian freak. And that became a deep-seated root in me. So that when I finally went to the desert to look after my grandmother, God bless her soul, I got to be a part of my grandmother the last, I believe it was 7 years of her life on this earth. I enjoyed every day of that because our birthdays were 3 days apart. She was December 17th, I was December 20th. So it was so neat. And in that time of bonding with her, I still wasn't right with the Lord. I was bound and drinking and smoking. And I wasn't an example of a Christian to her. I do remember ministering to her, but not enough. And I didn't know about deliverance. And I didn't really focus on the demons then. I was just trying to go to college because she wanted me to. And then I became her caregiver. And one thing I want to say is I'm really grateful that I can actually say I have a clean record through all my habits that I had. I never got into drugs. I tried marijuana at a party, yuck, and threw up. But the habit was wine, beer, and cigarettes, and I have tried different liquors, but what I thank God for is that I still say I was an alcoholic, but I was an alcoholic that could control it. But I didn't end up having to go to jail or getting in trouble, but I used it to self-medicate for extreme anxiety and back pain. But I'm so glad I didn't get into pharmakia. I know a lot of people get addicted to pharmaceuticals. So God really had me and has always had me, even through my sin. And I was going through deliverance throughout my life because of the mercy of God on my soul. So, there were many times I felt God's divine intervention, his hand on me, and during my years of rebellion, even though I was rebelling, he protected me. And I constantly thank him to this day. I go, God, thank you for saving my life, that I didn't die in my sin in all those years and end up in hell. Because the full surrender came in 2017, but in the year of 2001 to 2000, up to 2017, you can imagine that was the heavy sin in my life. And, it was anger. I just was angry that I didn't get to be like other people in high school. I never fit in, never had friends. So when I went to college, I said, forget this. I'm not going to be that Christian girl that's alone again. I ended up sharing rent at this house, and I met him. Let's just call him an assigned kingdom of darkness worker sent from Satan. I've forgiven him from all the pain and the abuse. And yes, he took my virginity. And he ended up leaving me, hitting me and leaving me. It was terrible. But God had me make the peace through an email and bumping into him one last time in 2009, because God said, reconcile, don't have bitterness or anger in your heart. Found out years later he joined someone and has a child. But I look back and go, how could I ever have thought? I love that man, and God told me it was a familiar spirit and that I joined him in the 666 of anger, fear, rejection, despair, abuse, self-hatred. So just the way people fall in love and join in the love of God in an ordained marriage, you can join a guy in a counterfeit soul tie and all of your sin, anger, pain, and demons, familiar demons. And that becomes a strong man, a stronghold. I've had to cut the soul ties, cast out the demons of Hinduism, India, Muslimism. You can imagine what came in through the sexual soul tie. It was hell, the price I paid even after the breakup. In the relationship, it was painful, but after the cold cut, we're talking years and years of demonic deliverance, and I've been single ever since. It is important to get married, I believe, as a woman, though, and I've prayed about it to God, but God has me alone. And but always seek God about that, because I always wanted to be married, but God showed me I was a forfeited soul. He forfeit the calling of God to join me. He knew God. He went to a Christian missionary boys' school as a child, so this isn't somebody that was ignorant. But God showed me it was a curse of forfeiture, and I just wanted to die after the breakup. It was tremendous, the agony and the pain. And so in my testimony link pinned above, there's another link in the link, and I give you a testimony on that part of my life, college years, when I rebelled, and I'm still getting frayed. So whatever you're coming out of, whatever you're going through, break those demonic soul ties, break those sexual soul ties, break those emotional soul ties, break those spiritual soul ties in Jesus' name. And keep breaking your generational curses. Ask God to show you your sin, to reveal all hidden sin. And yes, it's painful. Keep a dream journal, keep a journal. You will cry a lot of tears, especially if you're coming out of a demonic dedication or a heavy generational curse, or if you've had physical, emotional abuse. You have to heal from all of that. That's all takes time, and you hold Jesus' hand through that healing deliverance journey. And that's what I'm on, and I'll make a part 3. God bless you, your family, and all your loved ones.